Hi, I'm Sherry and welcome back to my channel, Sherry Jones Designs. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made this cute apron. I used a pencil skirt, and to make it the size that you want it to be for you, measure across the front of yourself, and that way you'll know how wide to make the front. For me, it was about 10 inches. So I measured down as well to about 12 inches, about where your waist is at, and then I made that to be the size of my apron. So that's what you're going to want to do. You don't want it too long, but you don't want it too short. So everybody's built a little different. So if you're making one for yourself, you're going to want to measure down to your waist for the length. Once you've, and it doesn't have to be exact, because you can make the difference up with a band that goes around the bottom. Then I trimmed the back side up, and I serged my bottom edge. You could zigzag it or do nothing, it'd be fine. And then I went ahead and cut two straps out with about 4-inch wide, and I made a long tube, and this is going to go around my neck. And I wanted something pretty wide. I don't want it to pull like, some aprons have the little strings you tie up there and you got a knot. That is very uncomfortable to wear for long periods. So what I did was I cut myself, it was about a 4-inch piece or a little bit more of a strap. You could make yours whatever width you want it to be of a tube, and then I turned it inside out using my scrunchy flipper thing that I have, which by the way did not work out so well because the fabric that I'm using here is kind of heavyweight and it didn't want to turn, but after much wrestling I finally got it. It wasn't easy, and then I pressed it flat. And after that, I pinned it to the side of the little front piece I had here. Now, if you could use jeans for the front of this. You could use bib overall piece for the front. There's a lot of different things you could use for this. And then I tried it on to make sure that I had the right fit, and it was a little long. So I repinned it to make sure it was correct, and then I stitched it in place. I overlapped mine about a 1/2 inch on the one side. You could have made the apron, the little square part of that, you could have made it wider and put it over the whole thing. Probably would have been a little stronger. But I just did a 1/2 inch and down the sides like that. And then I top stitched it so it would lay nice and flat and be, I'm looking at strength here. This is for utility purposes. So I plan to be kind of rough on this apron and do a lot in it. And so that's why I don't mind doing a little bit extra stitching and stuff to make it just a little bit stronger. So I continued down this other side here, and then I laid it out over here, and now I'm going to decide for the band that I will attach my apron to. And for that I measured from hip point to hip point where I wanted it to go, like that. And then I cut myself out a little bit wider strip here, and I cut it to that length that I just took. See there, I'm measuring it out, and I cut it to that length, and that's going to be the next band. And so I did the same thing. I made another tube like I didn't learn the first time. It's just me. I always got to do things the hard way sometimes. So anyways, again, I made myself another tube, and we turned it inside out, and I centered it and pinned it to the front of my little apron piece I got going on here. Once I had it centered where I wanted it, I sewed it in place. And because the reason I'm doing this now, if you wanted this to be your strap, you could have kept going, but I want my apron to attach to it, and I wanted my straps to be thinner. So that's why I didn't make it really long. I made it only hip to hip, and because that's where I'm going to attach my apron to. So I took the rest of the skirt, and once I cut it to the height I wanted, and I just attached all the rest of it to my little apron piece. First I marked the center, and then I pinned it all in place where I wanted it. And then I decided to just I love the way finger gathering looks. And so I pinned it where I would begin. I pinned it in the center, and then I planned to just finger gather what was in between. And you can see me there testing it, like, is this going to be too much? Should I take more off the ends? Because, I didn't want to have something that looked like too poofy, but I didn't want it to be flat. So here I am finger gathering. If you've never seen finger gathering, you just open your fingers up, and then when you press them on the fabric, and then when you pull your fingers together, you have gathers. And and I gathered it all onto that little belt piece that we made there. And the ends are open on this because I'm going to make straps and stick the straps into the end of the little belt piece we made there for the apron to attach to. And so this is wasn't hard to make. You can do this, quite easily. And you guys can slow me down so you can see more what I do. But then I went ahead and did a second top stitching because I want to make sure it stays there. I plan to be rough on this. And then I wanted my ties to be quite narrow. I want to be able to tie them without feeling, like I've got too much bulk behind me or a big bow or anything. So I made it about 2, maybe 2.5 inches, and I did what I call it double fold. So I cut 2 of these with the length of the shirt that I have left, and what I'm using here is just a men's shirt with the sleeves and everything cut out. So here's how I folded it, and you can see I did 2 small folds together. Pause me and back me up if you need to see it again. And then what I do is I fold it together again. I use my finger to smooth out the creases, and I finger press it, and I top stitch. And it makes for a very, very nice strap. I really could have done this for all of the straps. It might have been easier to do, but this is just an easy way to make a narrow strapping. For bags or anything, you can use this method. And I really like to do that. And then I top stitched it a second time coming back down the other side. But you can see it makes just a very sturdy strap. So now, then I sewed them in place there at the ends where I had the holes. I just tucked them in there and sewed over the top of them. And now I'm cutting out pockets. And I had one pocket on the shirt. I decided to use it and put it right up front. So after I cut it out, I decided I want to applique on it. So I cut the backing of it off. And I thought, oh, that's cute. And then I went and got my little appliques that I had made and picked out some that I liked and pinned them in place. And I just sewed them on. So all I need now is my lower pockets, and I'm excited because I'm getting close. I'm like, oh, it's almost done. So I cut out 2 pockets, about 6 by 9 inches or so is about what I usually do. And then I decided to use the method, and I wanted to show everybody here how I use the method of making my little pockets that have the elastics in them. So what you do is first, if you're going to put appliques on, you want to put them on first so you don't have to fight with the gathering of the elastic, which is what I'm explaining here. I had trouble with my audio, so I ended up doing a voiceover. So, but yeah, I picked out a couple of those, and then I sewed all my little appliques on. And then it was time to do the pocket, the bigger pockets. And I usually take them to my serger first, and I serge all my corners. If you don't do that, if you don't want to do that, you could zigzag them on directly, or you could zigzag and press them and then put them on. Press a 1/4 inch under. But I want to show you on the serger how I make it round. And this is quite cheaty, is I just pull it as I make my corner and drive real slow, and I actually can round a corner doing this. So it's fast for me. I actually can just pull as I sew. I don't know if you're supposed to do this, but this is what I do. So anyways, once I got to this point, all I had left to do was put the elastic in it because I have my applique on the front. And the way I do this, you could cut like a 4-inch piece for each one and then pull to stretch. But I go down to about where the 4-inch mark is at, and then I pull it over, and then I trim it when I'm done. And one of the reasons I do that, it gives me more to grab onto. So I can just sew straight, I grab a hold of it, and I estimate it as I come across. And then I do the second one, I measure and compare to make sure my elastics are in the same place. And yeah, that's all I have to do and then I pinned them in place where I wanted them, and I sewed all my pockets on, and I was done, and I loved it so much. And thank you guys, everybody, for watching, for liking and sharing and subscribing. And don't forget, if you want a little bit more, I started a Patreon, which will be down below, where we have a little club called the Happy Sewing Club. And yeah, we have a Discord and everything. We can post our own pictures of things and little contests. So thank you, everybody. Until next time, happy sewing.